All right, guys, today we have some very interesting PlayStation news to go over and discuss. And as you can see here on screen, SIE London Studio is apparently working on a big PS5 project with online multiplayer. Now, I've talked to you many times on this channel about the things that Sony is doing behind the scenes, the things that many of Sony studios are currently working on that we don't know about, but we will probably learn about in the next year or two. And these are very significant projects. I mean, there's going to be some smaller stuff in there as well. But SIE London, I think, is the next studio that I think Sony really wants to kind of bring up in a big way and make them like one of the next big AAA studios underneath, their publishing brand here. So let's read this a little bit and try to figure out what exactly it is they could be working on and how excited we should be for it. Let me adjust this first for you guys. So it says here, SIE London Studio might finally ditch VR and have a chance at a proper next-generation follow-up on PS5 with a new project that could include online multiplayer. SIE London Studio has mostly worked on smaller projects. However, there are a few exceptions like Blood and Truth and the Getaway series. They are also behind the 8 Days demo that was showcased for the PS3 but never made it into an actual game. Their recent job listing suggests their next big project will offer online multiplayer. So what's most interesting to me about this, just right, off the bat here, we're going to go over this job listing, but I did talk about the Getaway a little bit actually earlier this year because there was a former developer who worked at SIE London, and he has a YouTube channel. It's a pretty small channel, but he does upload on it occasionally. And one of the things he said a while ago is that when he left, as far as he knew, there was a bigger project in the works, something, more akin to a AAA title, not something smaller, not something that's for VR. And he said he's not sure if it was still in production or not, but that was the last he heard before he left the studio. And this immediately got people thinking, well, this is the Getaway. This is Sony returning to the Getaway series and giving them another chance to kind of like bring it back on the PlayStation 5. And I do want to say that if they are actually working on a proper AAA title, I think the Getaway would make a lot of sense. So let's continue reading here. So just like we took a look into Days Gone developer Sony Bend Studio earlier to dig further into what they are working on, we have looked at LinkedIn as well as their job postings on the official website. They currently have 3 job openings on their website while keeping in mind that these usually open during the start of a new quarter, and we are approaching the end of one now. The job listings are for a lead 3D character artist, senior gameplay programmer, and lead online programmer. The interesting part here is how they are mentioning AAA games as experience here for most of the positions. This is fairly standard practice, however. SIE London Studios Blood and Truth wasn't really a traditional AAA game. It was received well by critics. And so, yeah, that is the last proper title they made. It was a VR title. I heard good things about it. As for the lead online programmer, it suggests that there will be a multiplayer implementation in their new game. As the lead online programmer, you will work together with multiple disciplines within our engine and our teams to lead the development of the online features required for our next big title. These features could include networked physics and animation systems, game logic, matchmaking, and session management, among others, reads the job listing. And so it continues on here. This brings us to the LinkedIn profile of David Skilton, who is the VFX lead at SIE Europe. His profile mentions an unannounced PS5 game. He worked on the next-gen scripted GPU particle authoring tool for PS5 for this game, along with a couple of other tasks. And so, yeah, this is very interesting, and believe it or not, I think it does reveal a significant amount of information about what we can expect from SIE London when it comes to the PlayStation 5. It seems pretty clear to me that this is the next studio that's going to get the Sony Bend treatment. And what I mean by that is Sony Bend, prior to Days Gone, they did have experience with AAA games, but it was kind of way back, right? You're thinking of like Siphon Filter and maybe Uncharted, what is it? The Golden Abyss, if that's the name of the game. Hopefully I'm remembering it correctly, but that's really all they did. And outside of that, it was like smaller, lesser known stuff. But then Sony was like, look, we're going to give you, Sony Bend, the opportunity to really, you know, kind of spread your wings here and do something bigger, something more significant that maybe is unexpected, but we want to see what you can do. You know, you're one of our studios and we want you to kind of produce a bigger AAA title. And so that's what we saw with Days Gone. And the thing about Days Gone is you could argue, well, it wasn't really received that well. So was it a success? I think it was, because it was actually a commercial success. It sold incredibly well. It's just that Sony didn't really talk about it. But it seems very likely that we will get a sequel to Days Gone, and a follow-up, which is great, and it will probably be even bigger. So I think what we're seeing here with SIE London is the beginning of them as a studio getting their chance to really kind of do that as well. And when you listen to the way Jim Ryan has talked about their studios, and you know, when he's asked about further studio acquisition, he makes it pretty clear that they're all about organic growth. And this is part of that organic growth, you know, taking their studios that are established and really just giving them a new opportunity. Because if they are in fact working on, say, another Getaway title, not only is that going to be good for the studio in general, and it's just going to be a great reveal, because there's a lot of people who really look back at the Getaway and, you know, have fond memories of it. And there's just a lot of people who will be very excited to see that return. But if they really give it like that proper AAA treatment, seeing it kind of come back, what they could do with that today, it does make sense if they are doing some type of multiplayer for a game like the Getaway to have something along those lines alongside maybe a single player aspect. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I just have this idea in my head, and I could be wrong about this, but I just have this idea in my head that Sony's intention with pretty much all of their studios is kind of, they want to mold and shape them into AAA studios, as many of them as they can anyway. Not every single studio underneath Sony is going to have to produce the biggest budget AAA blockbuster games, but if the potential is there, they probably want to see if they can really kind of bring them up. Because you look at Naughty Dog, and I think Sony kind of looks at Naughty Dog as their top tier studio, but now we look at Sucker Punch and seeing what they did with Ghost of Tsushima, seeing what Sony Santa Monica, I mean, they've always been looked at as a big, prominent studio alongside Guerrilla Games. But with God of War 2018 and Horizon Zero Dawn, I think we can all agree that these studios just kind of elevated themselves to another level. This just like level of prestige that they're now, you know, they're just looked at as like, wow, like, yeah, like they're top tier studios, right? They're not the B teams, they're not the C teams, they're the A teams. And I think Sony is in the process of trying to get as many of their studios to this same level of prestige. And I think that that's what we're going to see with SIE London. So yeah, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to kind of relay this information to you guys, because it was something I came across that I wasn't expecting, but really kind of caught my interest, because I'm like, you know, we did hear previously from a developer who worked at SIE London that they were working on something big, not VR related, something AAA. Like they're really going to get their chance at really doing something different, something bigger. And we could very well see the return of the Getaway. And now we have some job listings and openings that are pointing to a AAA title in development for PS5. And they're also mentioning online multiplayer, which is very interesting, because I've been saying that I think Sony should always stick to single player, obviously, and story driven games, but I don't think there would be anything wrong with them trying to like kind of flesh out a little bit or expand a little bit more into multiplayer territory, as long as they do it right and not egregiously. I think it could work out really well for them. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Obviously, I'm doing a little bit of a different format here, so let me know what you think about what we talked about, and also let me know how you like this format, if this is something that you would want to continue to see on the channel going forward. Not every video, obviously, but if you like me kind of being on camera here, let me know. Again, leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.